What if I told you the company powering the checkout button on your favorite websites isn't always Visa or MasterCard, not even PayPal? Instead, sometimes it's a startup you've probably never seen, but you've definitely used: Stripe. With just an idea, two Irish brothers entered a market dominated by financial giants like American Express, PayPal, and Discover. And today, Stripe holds the crown, controlling over 34% of the entire online payment management industry. That's more than PayPal, more than Venmo, more than anyone. And while it competes against over 125 different payment platforms, Stripe has quietly become the go-to choice for tech giants like Google, Amazon, Instacart, Notion, Shopify, and even Kickstarter. Founded in 2010, Stripe wasn't just another payments tool, it was a radical rethinking of how money moves on the internet. And today, it's valued at $91.5 billion, with no signs of slowing down. So how did Stripe go from a simple idea to one of the most powerful financial companies on earth? Let's rewind the clock and uncover the rise of Stripe. Patrick and John Collison didn't grow up in Silicon Valley. They were raised in the small town of Dromineer, Ireland. Their mother was a microbiologist, their father an electronics engineer. The house was filled with curiosity and technical discussions, a perfect environment for future innovators. Patrick learned to code at the age of 10, and both brothers showed incredible academic promise early on, developing deep interest in computer science, mathematics, and physics. By age 16, Patrick had already made headlines, winning Ireland's prestigious Young Scientist of the Year award for creating a new programming language called Chroma. But the Collison brothers didn't stop there. Fueled by ambition and relentless curiosity, they launched their first company, Automatic, while still in their teens. The startup helped eBay sellers manage and track inventory, and it was so impressive that Y Combinator, the legendary Silicon Valley accelerator, brought them on board. Before they even turned 20, they sold Automatic to Live Current Media for $5 million. Despite receiving offers from Harvard and MIT, the brothers had little interest in college life. Instead, they jumped straight into building software and mobile apps, exploring iOS development. They used their earnings to finance their own education, not through lectures, but by building real-world tech. It was during this period they spotted a frustrating problem. Accepting payments on an iPhone? Easy. But accepting payments on the web? A nightmare. Legacy financial systems only worked with massive corporations, and platforms like PayPal were tailored for the end consumer, not the developers or startups trying to build new businesses. The Collison brothers saw a gap and a massive opportunity. Their insight? Go after developers. Developers were the ones choosing payment platforms for their companies. Especially for small online businesses, developer friendliness could make or break a tool's adoption. So, they set out to become the developer's favorite payment platform. To focus, they moved to Buenos Aires, Argentina, where they spent a month building the first prototype. The result? Stripe, a simple, elegant payment solution that could be integrated into any website with just 7 lines of code. Their first customer was another Y Combinator startup, 280 North. Founder Ross Boucher was so impressed by Stripe that he not only used it, he left his own company to join them. Momentum was building. In 2011, Stripe raised a $2 million seed round from some of Silicon Valley's most legendary figures: Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Sequoia Capital, and Andreessen Horowitz. And in September 2011, Stripe officially launched to the public. It was the beginning of something legendary. Stripe wasn't just another payment processor. It was a toolbox for builders, designed by builders. Instead of bloated forms, outdated APIs, and lengthy contracts, Stripe offered something the internet had never seen before: clean, developer-friendly code, lightning-fast setup, and real-time analytics, all in one sleek interface. But how did Stripe actually make money? Their business model was elegantly simple. Take a small percentage of every transaction processed through their platform. Just like a digital toll booth, For every online store, subscription platform, crowdfunding site, or app that used Stripe, a small cut went to them. That might not sound like much until you realize Stripe powers payments for millions of businesses globally. From startups to giants like Amazon and Shopify, Stripe became the financial infrastructure of the internet. Every purchase, every donation, every subscription, Stripe was quietly there, taking a fee, and customers loved it. Stripe took what was once a 3-week integration nightmare and reduced it to just a few minutes of copy-pasting code. They obsessed over the developer experience. Detailed documentation, 24/7 support, and smooth UX made it a favorite among engineers. Businesses could launch faster, scale quicker, and expand globally without begging banks for access. One entrepreneur put it this way: with Stripe, I didn't need to hire a payments team. Stripe was my payments team. Stripe didn't stop at just payments. They expanded into fraud detection, issuing virtual cards, billing systems, and even launching tools for carbon removal donations. All seamlessly integrated and all built with that same elegant simplicity. Their reputation for reliability, security, and speed earned the trust of Silicon Valley and soon the world. Stripe wasn't just helping businesses make money, they were helping them build empires. And behind it all was a vision, not just to process payments, but to grow the GDP of the internet. It was bold, it was genius, and it was working. Stripe didn't rely on flashy marketing campaigns, no Super Bowl ads, no massive billboards. In fact, they didn't really market themselves at all. And that's what made their growth so remarkable. Stripe grew almost entirely through word of mouth, a rare feat, especially for a back-end payment processor, not a flashy social media app. Its simplicity, speed, and developer-first design made it spread like wildfire among engineering communities. Developers loved it, recommended it, and built with it, not because Stripe was cheaper than the competition, but because it was better. Stripe's pricing was virtually the same as its rivals, yet engineers consistently chose Stripe over legacy platforms like Authorize.net or even PayPal. Why? Because it actually worked. It was simple to integrate, easy to scale, and incredibly reliable. As startups grew, Stripe grew with them. Some of the hottest new tech companies, like Shopify, Lyft, and Postmates, adopted Stripe early on. And as their user bases expanded, so did Stripe's market presence. Just 2 years after launching, Stripe attracted $18 million in funding at a $100 million valuation, led by some of the most prestigious names in tech. That same year, they raised another $20 million from Sequoia Capital, Founders Fund, and American Express Ventures. American Express wasn't just an investor, they became Stripe's first strategic partner. Soon after, other giants followed, Visa, Google, and more. And their involvement wasn't just financial. These investors gave Stripe credibility in the eyes of big enterprises. For example, once Google started using Stripe, other major companies took notice. Suddenly, Stripe was seen as the go-to solution, even by the most traditional institutions. In 2012, Stripe launched Stripe Connect, allowing businesses to send payments to multiple sellers. This became a game changer for platforms like Shopify and Lyft, who needed to split payments between buyers, drivers, or vendors. Then came Radar 2.0 in 2018, an AI-powered fraud detection system now enhanced for large enterprises. Alongside it, they launched tools specifically for fraud teams, giving bigger businesses granular control and real-time protection. And that wasn't all. Stripe also created Atlas, a tool that helps startups around the world incorporate their businesses, manage legal paperwork, and open US bank accounts, all online in just a few clicks. Stripe wasn't just growing organically. They were building an ecosystem, one that startups trusted, developers loved, and big businesses increasingly depended on. No ads, no gimmicks, just a relentless focus on building great tools and letting the product speak for itself. What's the secret behind Stripe's rise to a $95 billion valuation in just 15 years? It's simple but brilliant. Stripe focused on serving the customers that the big players ignored. While giants like Visa and MasterCard catered to massive corporations like Walmart and Home Depot, Stripe built for the underdogs, the startups, the small websites, the indie founders just trying to get their first sale. It didn't matter whether it was payment processing, fraud detection, or startup paperwork. If traditional financial services made it complicated, Stripe made it simple. And the strategy worked. As those small startups grew into billion-dollar companies, Stripe grew with them. Even fraud prevention, a space dominated by legacy firms like Experian and Equifax, wasn't built for small businesses. Those tools were designed for Apple and American Express. Stripe flipped the model. They made powerful fraud tools accessible to any developer with an internet connection. They offered credit card processing, KYC tools, global payments, and more, all with just a few lines of code. Now Stripe is preparing to replicate that same strategy at a global scale. They're betting on the next generation of underdogs, not in Silicon Valley, but in Africa, Southeast Asia, and beyond. In 2020, Stripe acquired Paystack, often called the Stripe of Africa, to expand its reach across Nigeria and the continent. They've also backed rising fintech stars in countries like Pakistan and the Philippines, markets often overlooked by traditional finance. It's not just expansion, it's enablement. Stripe is heavily involved in the startup funding space, providing infrastructure that allows tomorrow's tech giants to launch with Stripe on day one. From Stripe Atlas to their startup investment arm, they're building the rails for the future of entrepreneurship. Their long-term mission isn't just to dominate payments, it's to grow the GDP of the internet by giving small businesses access to tools that used to be reserved for the elite. So how did Stripe go from zero to powering $95 billion in payments? They bet on the overlooked, empowered the builders, and made the tools of the financial elite accessible to anyone with a dream and a domain name. And if history is any guide, Stripe is just getting started. That's it for today. Stripe was never meant to be the loudest company in the room. It didn't need to be. What started as a project built by two brothers in Buenos Aires became the financial backbone of millions of companies. Whether you're a solo founder in Manila or a billion-dollar platform in New York, Stripe gave you access to the same tools, the same speed, the same power. Because in a world where money moves everything, Stripe changed how money moves. And in doing so, it changed everything. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the story behind the world's most powerful companies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.